A nation-on-edge tension grips the courtroom. The air crackled with anticipation. A hush fell over the packed courtroom as Judge Davis strode in, her face an impassive mask. Every eye in the room was on her, on the papers in her hand. The jurors filed in, their faces etched with the gravity of their decision. Days of testimony, mountains of evidence, hours of deliberation, all had led to this moment. Donald Trump, a figure accustomed to the spotlight, sat stiffly at the defendant's table. Gone was his usual bluster, replaced by a look of grim determination. His children, Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric, sat behind him, their faces betraying a mixture of anxiety and defiance. The weight of history pressed down on the room. A former president awaited his fate. Across the aisle, the prosecution team, led by the unflappable Alvin Bragg, exuded quiet confidence. They had presented a meticulous case, meticulously laying out the evidence of financial fraud. The defense team, known for their aggressive tactics, appeared subdued, their faces betraying the difficulty of their task. The silence stretched on, each tick of the clock heightening the tension. Reporters crammed into the overflow room, their fingers hovering over keyboards, ready to unleash a torrent of words upon the world. Cameras stood poised, their lenses trained on the judge, on Trump, on every twitch of emotion that might betray the momentous decision about to be delivered. The world held its breath. 34 counts of guilt. The verdict reverberates. On count 1 of the indictment, guilty. Judge Davis's voice, though quiet, cut through the courtroom like a thunderclap. The word hung in the air, a sharp intake of breath rippling through the assembled crowd. Trump, his face now ashen, stared straight ahead, his jaw clenched. His children, their faces betraying a mixture of shock and anger, exchanged stricken looks. On count 2 of the indictment, guilty. The pronouncements continued, each count a hammer blow, driving home the reality of the verdict. 34 counts in total, each one meticulously detailed, each one met with the same damning word, guilty. The courtroom, silent just moments ago, erupted in a cacophony of gasps, murmurs, and the frantic clicking of keyboards. Trump, his gaze still fixed, remained motionless. His lawyers, their faces grim, leaned in to whisper words of support, or perhaps advice. The magnitude of the verdict, its historical significance, was lost on no one. Never before had an American president faced such a reckoning. As Judge Davis finished reading the verdict, a sense of stunned disbelief settled over the courtroom. The weight of the moment, the sheer audacity of it all, seemed to suck the air from the room. The judge thanked the jury for their service, her voice betraying none of the turmoil that surely raged within. Faces of defeat and triumph, reactions to the historic decision. The prosecution team, their faces betraying years of relentless work, allowed themselves a small smile of victory. Bragg, his composure unwavering, nodded curtly to his team, acknowledging the culmination of their efforts. Their case, built on a mountain of financial records and bolstered by witness testimony, had withstood the scrutiny of the court and the relentless attacks of the defense. A wave of emotion washed over Ivanka Trump's face, disbelief, anger, and perhaps a flicker of fear. Don Jr., his face flushed, glared at the jury, his anger palpable. Eric Trump, his eyes downcast, seemed lost in thought. The family, once seemingly invincible, now faced an uncertain future, their patriarch facing the very real possibility of prison time. Outside the courthouse, a media frenzy erupted. Camera crews jostled for position, microphones thrust towards anyone remotely connected to the case. Pundits launched into overdrive, dissecting every aspect of the trial, the verdict, and its implications. Social media exploded, a torrent of opinions, reactions, and pronouncements flooding the digital sphere. The nation, long divided over Trump and his legacy, found itself even more deeply polarized. Supporters decried the verdict as a politically motivated witch hunt, their anger fueled by conspiracy theories and distrust of the justice system. Opponents celebrated the triumph of accountability, seeing the verdict as a long-awaited reckoning for a man they viewed as above the law. Section 4. The Weight of Justice. Trump's legal journey and its consequences. The trial had been a spectacle from the start, a media circus fueled by Trump's own penchant for self-promotion and his ability to command attention. Every twist and turn of the legal proceedings had been dissected and debated ad nauseum, dominating news cycles and fueling endless speculation. Trump, never one to shy away from a fight, had vowed to appeal the verdict. his lawyers promising to take the case all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary. The legal battle, already lengthy and acrimonious, seemed poised to drag on, further dividing the nation and casting a long shadow over American politics. The implications of the verdict extended far beyond Trump himself. His conviction, the first of its kind for an American president, sent shockwaves through the political establishment. It served as a stark reminder that no one, not even the most powerful person in the country, is above the law. The verdict also raised profound questions about the future of American democracy. Trump's supporters, many of whom remained fiercely loyal despite the mountain of evidence against him, viewed the trial as a politically motivated attempt to silence their voices. The deep divisions within American society, exacerbated by Trump's presidency, seemed only to widen in the wake of the verdict. Section 5, A Nation Divided, the verdict's impact on American politics. The verdict reverberated through the halls of Congress, casting a pall over the upcoming presidential election. Trump, who had been hinting at a 2024 run, now faced an uncertain political future. His legal woes, far from abating, seemed likely to escalate, potentially derailing any hopes of a political comeback. The Republican Party, once firmly in Trump's grip, found itself at a crossroads. Some within the party, sensing an opportunity to move on from the chaos and controversy of the Trump era, began to distance themselves from the former president. Others, fearing the wrath of Trump's loyal base, doubled down on their support, echoing his claims of a rigged system and a politically motivated prosecution. The verdict also had profound implications for the rule of law in America. Trump's repeated attacks on the justice system, his attempts to undermine public trust in institutions, had eroded confidence in the very foundations of American democracy. As the dust settled on the historic verdict, one thing was clear: the nation remained deeply divided, the wounds of the Trump era still raw. The road ahead promised to be fraught with challenges, as America grappled with the legacy of its most unconventional president. The verdict, far from marking the end of an era, seemed to herald a new chapter in the ongoing saga of American political and social division.